it's not just a New Zealand issue, it's a worldwide issue. And I also see it as a social justice issue. The gaming industry allowing the concealment of these processes that basically trick players into believing that they have a better chance of winning than they actually do.
If you go into a place where there's a pokie machine, you will see that almost all of your senses are assaulted. I call it assaulted, but actually all of your senses are being seduced. You know, sight, sound, little ringing bells, and they have great little things that sort of almost tell you nearly won, you were almost there, almost a winner, you know, you'll be there soon. They don't actually say, hey, you're in trouble, you're having a problem, you better stop playing, or you're a loser, hey, you just lost. They only tell you, you know, you just won so many credits.
Moving away from the treatment model into more of a holistic community development approach has been where we've been trying to shift the organisation sort of for the last 12 to 18 months, and we're kind of there now.
We're clinicians, we employ educator counsellors, because I think that it's irresponsible of us to counsel the individual and help fix the individual when actually this is a much broader problem.
It's kind of the idea of, Ralph Nader's idea, unsafe at any speed. I mean, a seatbelt, willpower is not going to keep you in a car seat at the scene of an accident. Neither will willpower be able to stop you from overspending on these machines once you are engaged in play, because they are intended to keep you going.
People become very quickly dependent on them for mood elevation and so on. I mean, and again, this is a much bigger problem. People are escaping, using the pokie machines as a form of escapism, and very often it's our poorer people that are actually the victims.
If you have other pre-existing vulnerabilities, like you are depressed or you've lost a spouse or you have other things, then it's going to be even more significant, the difficulties you're facing.
The other thing about the addiction model is that it focuses on sickness, it focuses on illness and there being something wrong. And we actually don't think that a person is sick. We think that they have a problematic relationship with gambling, which is the intended outcome of the industry.
The whole addiction paradigm treating the players as if they're somehow flawed when they believe certain things about the machines. But the machines are designed to instill these cognitions in the player in order to generate revenues.
96% of the revenue comes from a very small portion of people, and they're the people that gamble on the most regular basis. Something like 85% of all people that present at our agency present as a result of pokie machine problems.
There are some old type games that, like poker game amongst friends, the money just goes around friends, it's a low risk activity. But when you move a poker game into a commercial casino where there's a 5% hold or rake on each pot, and the players don't realize that over time the house will get all the money, they're not really playing them against themselves in the end because the house gets all the money. That has turned a friendly game into an exploitive game.
The people that are putting the money in the machines are not the people who are getting the money back. How is that fair? How is that going to communities?
Not only did the local pubs and other places that wanted to set up gambling venues or had existing ones turn up to argue their case, but they also encouraged a number of sporting organisations to say they'd become totally dependent on this gambling money, and any attempt to rein in the rate at which new gambling venues were established would threaten little Johnny's opportunity to play soccer.
And if we look at the ratio of where the funding goes, then you'll see that men's ball sports get by far the highest proportion of pokie money.
A lot of local authorities say they'd like to close down a lot of the ones that exist. They haven't got that power at the moment, and they'll be lobbying central government to change the law to give them that power where there's compelling evidence that that venue is doing overall harm, social and economic, to its community.
Coming into a hui like this and getting the information on some great, substantial, evidence-based research, I could just hear, the penny dropping in that room when we were listening to the keynote speakers. That gives them a whole lot more strength and courage to go back to communities and really challenge what's going on in their communities. So, and also our internal staff, knowing that we've got media people and we've got public health people and we've got clinical support people in place is really important for them, because if they don't come to these things, they know they're there, but they're only names. They don't ever get to put faces to them.
We don't have enough objective information on this, and it's a need for some research. But there was certainly strong anecdotal and other evidence about how the way of life had changed in some lower income communities.
What we have to decide, I guess, is, as a society, is whether or not we want to rely on this kind of source of revenue that is damaging people in order to be able to fund other things.
We need to provide education and awareness to other members of the community who think that at this point they haven't been touched by gambling.
What needs to happen is the industry needs to become more transparent on a number of levels around how the games actually operate, how they are contributing to faulty cognitions and misconceptions about the machines. And they need to become transparent so experts in the problem gambling field can dissect the machine and see the link between the addictions instead of assuming it's all about predispositions in players. They're messed up to begin with. What we're finding is that's not the case anymore. It might have been the case 20 years ago, but today a lot of normal people are running into problems with the machines who don't have a whole lot of psychosocial problems.
In Canada, we have a number of class action suits that are outstanding. We are seeing a huge shift now in the legal system, even in Canada's response. And even the true litmus test will be what happens in America, where they are very, very heavily dependent upon the medical model for gambling, thinking it's the individual who is broken and needs to be fixed. But for us, we are getting pushed along in the direction a little bit more because with our governments, who are the operators, the issue of liability becomes much more complicated. And they are seeing people who have never ever before had been involved in any kind of crimes are now coming before the judges in the court and the judicial system, and so we are all waiting to see what the outcomes of those are going to be.
Come on, folks. Clear.
Could you take the picture, please?
Yeah.